Looking at old art is always slightly agonizing, makes you do a full body cringe. It's an interesting experience, but today, hopefully, it'll be a little bit less stressful for me because these are my last old sketchbooks. I'd like to think I've improved from here on out, but I guess we'll see, won't we? Hello and welcome back to my channel. Hope you're doing well. Longtime viewers of my channel will know that the first ever sketchbook tour I posted on my channel was of Sketchbook 6, and as you can see here, we got Sketchbook 5 and Sketchbook 4. So this is going to be the second to last video of me looking at old art. In terms of like physical art, like in sketchbooks and on loose sheets of paper, this is all I got left. I've got this sketchbook, which is actually the same sketchbook as my first sketchbook tour, and then I got this one, which I decided to also include in this video because it's really small and there isn't enough in here to make it its own video. But I thought that after I look through these and then eventually make the video redrawing old art from here, I thought it would be fun to look at my old digital art. I don't have a whole lot of old digital art because I started in like around 2016-ish and it was very few and far between. But I think I have enough for my first few years of doing digital art to actually make a video about it. So we're almost done with this series. I guess it's a series. I've just been kind of making them whenever. So I guess without further ado, we'll just get started. We'll set that aside. Let me open this up. Realize your fake plants are in the way. Cry a little bit. This sketchbook was started in May 23rd, 2017, so I was 17. I had just turned 17 when I started this one. If you don't know, for reference, I'm 21 now. I know I sound like I'm 12, but I'm not. I think these Batman stickers my friend gave me, so I put it in here. And then a little calcifer I made. I had some sticker paper, and I remember wanting to see how alcohol markers go on top of it. It doesn't go well. So, Andy, Luca, and Rory. I drew a lot of them because they were just created not too long before this, so I was drawing them a lot. I could definitely tell at this point I was trying to make my sketchbooks look a little bit more how they look now, but I was still getting used to it, so at least in the beginning here, the pages are sort of empty-ish. We'll see how it goes later on. I don't look through these sketchbooks before I film the videos, so it's a surprise for all of us. A big reason I made Kennedy Quinn was because I never drew children, and I was really bad at it. And so I figured if I just make a child character, then I'll be forced to get better at drawing a children because I'll draw her. I like this one. This one's kind of cute. This one I think I redraw either later in this sketchbook or in a different sketchbook. I can't remember, but I do remember redrawing it. Oh my goodness, a spread of Luca. I remember being really excited in this sketchbook because the sketchbooks I used before, they either bled too much or the pencil and pen or whatever would ghost through the pages really hard. But this one, there was minimal ghosting, which was nice. Oh my god, I remember Luca was never a morning person. That's still canon for anyone wondering. Oh my god, a baby Luca. I forgot I drew Luca as a kid here. This I also redrew in a different sketchbook. I can't remember which one though. Of course we have like regular bleed through. Nowadays, I'll usually like paste a piece of paper over this, or I'll like paint over it so I can still draw in this general area. I don't think there's anything super fancy for me to say about these. I will say this is the point in my art where it's like I still see issues with it because I've definitely improved from here, I think, I hope. But I don't hate looking at it, unlike all of my other old art. I don't mind looking at this too much. I remember this, I loved this spread so much. I just drew a bunch of different expressions. I should try doing something like this again. I feel like I've gotten into the habit of just drawing the same few expressions. Maybe I'll try redrawing a bunch of these, but with Andy now. But then again, I think in my last redrawing old art video, I kind of did the same thing. Redrew a bunch of Andy expressions, so maybe not. But maybe in my own time, I'll do that. Oh, this is a very blank page. I remember I had these paper clipped shut for the longest time. Whenever there was pages that I didn't like, I would take the two of them, put a paper clip over it so then you wouldn't see them. Nowadays, I just kind of leave it because I mean, every artist has their days. Not every spread is gonna be perfect, and it's fine. They don't have to be. I forget whose this is. I think this might have been my grandma's or something. And then some very quick, very nice doodles. This is around the time when it came out and I was obsessed like many people were at the time. I remember this. I was rewatching Avatar: The Last Airbender because like many people my age, I loved it as a kid. And then I don't know why, but one day I was just really compelled to rewatch it. And so I did, and I loved it just as much as I did as a kid. But now it's like a regular thing for me to rewatch it. Oh my god, I remember this. This is when I first decided I wanted to bring back Aurora. So this is her. This is pretty much how you guys know her now. There are some like minor differences. She used to have this like cat toy that she carried around, but that's not canon anymore. I have been wanting to tweak her design just a little bit, but as of now, this is pretty much what she looks like. Rory. This was also when I started drawing in pen, apparently. Or at least, like, doing a pencil sketch underneath, and then doing, like, a more refined sketch in pen on top. Now I just straight up sketch in pen. I remember this page, and I remember how I gave up on it. I wanted to draw each of the main characters of the story in overalls, because I thought it would be fun. Didn't get very far. Gave up when I got to Sawyer. Oh my god, this page. I remember being in love with this, and I forgot about it until now. This one might be one to redraw, just because I remember how much I fucking loved it back then. Some doodles of Cass and Kennedy Quinn. Much like her, Cass came into existence because he was everything that I was bad at drawing. So I figured if I make a character with those qualities, then I'll be forced to get better at them, because I was really bad at drawing masculinity. I still think I'm better at drawing femininity, but I've gotten better. It's an elephant. Elephants are her favorite animal, and I always loved the idea of her calling them elephant because she's a child. It's funny, right? It's not. I think this is also when I started trying to do more finished illustrations in my sketchbooks, so you'll see here and there I have like finished marker illustrations. I'm not sure if I started using watercolors in this one or if it was the next one, but we'll find out, won't we? Oh yeah, I remember this like face right here. I really loved drawing these types of faces. Look how giant my heads used to be. I think here I was still trying to get to know Sawyer a little bit more because no, he wasn't the newest edition. Mabel existed at this point. We literally just saw her. If you don't know my characters, that's his little cousin, but he like babysits her often, and they're cousins, but they have more of like a sibling dynamic. And then here I remember I really wanted to just replicate the other page with all of the expressions. Now that I'm looking at this, I think this was around the time where I started getting into digital art, or like wanting to practice it. So I drew this sketch, and then I took a picture of it, and then I did like the line art and coloring digitally, and it was my profile picture for the longest time. Shout out if you remember that. This page, I remember I got these post-it notes that looked like speech bubbles, and I was just obsessed with putting them everywhere. I don't think there's a whole lot for me to say about this. I don't remember much about them, so I guess we'll move on. Oh boy, here we go. Remember when the internet had that big, like, musical phase? I'd say that musicals are definitely still more popular than they used to be, but I think it's died down a little bit. But this was when everyone on the internet was just super obsessed with musicals, me included. And this was when I listened to Dear Evan Hansen for the first time, so of course I had to draw them. Because that's what everyone on the internet did back then, again, including myself. When Voltron first came out, I was obsessed with it, again, like most people at this time. I miss it. I miss when it was good. Before I looked at this sketchbook, I had a sneaking suspicion that there would be a lot of Voltron in here. And we're just getting started, and there's already a page of Voltron, so we will see. Oh my god, Voltron, what? Oh my god, look at this page. I remember when I first started my YouTube channel, one of the comments that I got a lot is that I sounded like Pidge. It was either Pidge or Jaden Animations. I don't get the Pidge comment anymore, but I still get the Jaden Animations comment. I promise I'm not Jaden Animations secretly. I think this is around when season 2 came out, but I'm not entirely sure. Yes, season 2. Whole page of Keith. He was my favorite for the longest time. And then it was Lance, and then it was nobody. I remember this one was inspired by a drawing I found online, but I don't remember what the drawing is. If that looks familiar to anybody, let me know. I would love to give credit, but I can't even begin to imagine what drawing that was. I just remember it was based off of something. Ooh! Alistair. I've actually been wanting to make a video where I redesign her for anyone who isn't aware, which would probably be most of you. Once upon a time, I had an alien character. Her name was Alistair, and this is her. This is when I was trying to redesign her to make her look more alien-like, because before, she was basically just a human with, like, ears and a tail and horns, I think. But here I wanted to make her look more alien-like, but I haven't drawn her in a while. I had, like, a loose concept for a story for her. I'd love to redesign her in a sketch vlog, so let me know if you're interested in that. Sawyer, Cass, and Cora. I think at this point I finished Avatar and I was watching Cora again. At least I would assume. Oh, I remember I think this was when I discovered Pinterest. I would use a bunch of pictures from references to... You know what I'm trying to say. But then the ones that I really liked, I drew Andy on. All from Pinterest, I assume. Oh, and some more. Oh, this is when I first started working on Cairo. I think these are the first ever sketches of him. There was a finished illustration in my unfinished sketchbooks that I showed off a while ago. Arlo, character of mine. Everyone loved him, and then I stopped drawing him, and it made everyone sad. More Cairo, kind of really just figuring out how Cairo is. More Alistair. Some of these would be fun to try and redraw. Maybe that would be a great place to start in tweaking her design. She was supposed to be like a really tough character, you know, where they just like don't give a shit. But also she was really small, and I thought that that was funny. Because she's just very aggressive and violent, but also under 5 feet tall. Oh, this is when I was trying to bring Jeremy back. I think it's the next sketchbook after this where I redesigned him and he looks more of how you guys would know him. But here I was just starting to bring him back. Here he looked very much like his old self, just with some minor tweaked things here. Oh yeah, this was around, it was either Sun and Moon or Ultra Sun or Ultra Moon. But one of the Gen 7 Pokemon games came out, and I was drawing Gladion because I really liked him. This is a redraw from one of the end credit pictures, and I really liked it. I thought it was funny that the Savali was just chomping on his face, so. Here I believe I was with my stepsister, and we were like randomly generating Pokemon, and then we had to fuse them. This one's alright. These two are interesting. Some more of those. Oh yeah, it was. I remember the Garbodor and Mienshao. That was. You can see how that went. This one's pretty interesting. I like that one. Oh yeah, and then this one was a triple fusion. I think this was when I first decided to make Pokemon OCs. That, or I was like deciding to do it again, but like put effort into it. I don't remember. This is when I first started sketching Archibald. I wanted to go through each Pokemon game, and like as I play through it, I would make a character sort of based on that playthrough, jotting down some of his team members, which isn't that anymore. Jeremy, trying to bring him back to life. Rough character sketch. I think she was going to be a Pokemon character, and then I never did anything with her. Oh, I remember really liking this sketch of Andy with the potato chips. It's so funny looking at the facial proportions, because these eyes are too close together, and then later on I would draw eyes too far apart. I'd like to think my eyes are correctly proportioned now. As you can see, they've never been romantically involved. They've never been dating. Well, I just wanted to draw a bunch of Rory and a bunch of Mabel, I guess. Ooh, this spread. I remember being super proud of this. Since this was the point where I was really trying to put in effort into my sketchbooks and making them look nice, I like thought a lot more about the composition of the pages and like just utilizing space more and adding more colors. Watching a bunch of sketchbook tours online definitely helped. But I remember just being super proud of this because this looked more like how I wanted my sketchbooks to look. Nowadays, I won't use as many different types of stuff to sketch with. So like instead of having like a liner and then like Sharpie pen and then ballpoint pen and then pencil, I will just pick one and then have that be consistent throughout the page. But this isn't a bad look. I also remember being super proud of all of these drawings. Squish. That never hurts either. Like, this is my dad's fish tank. And then my DS. And then my baby sister's little chair thing. And then Guzma, like many people, after playing Sun and Moon, I fell in love with Guzma, so I had to draw him a bunch. And he has consistently remained one of my favorite characters in the game. Team Skull was such a nice, refreshing change. Kitties. I think all of these were either Pinterest references or just Google image cat results. I remember loving this one. I still like it. It still holds up. This was also the sketchbook where I discovered putting like color blocks behind your favorite drawings on a page to make them stand out a little bit more. And that's something that I still do to this day. Oh, fairy tale stuff. I've always loved fairy tale. I still love it. Not as into it as I was at one point, but I remember being obsessed with drawing Sting and Rogue around this time. I've always bounced around with like who my current favorite character is. More Archibald. I remember drawing these at my dad's house. I don't know why I remember that. I was sitting at his dining room table drawing them. I wanted to make a group picture of all of them. This was before Hadia and Asim existed. I don't think Sketchbook 4 or 5 has Asim in them, but spoiler alert, the first Hadia drawings may or may not be in one of these sketchbooks. Alistair. I really need to tweak her design. I feel like she would be so fun for me to draw again. I remember loving that she had 4 eyes. I don't really have a whole lot to say about a lot of these sketches, to be honest. They're just kind of here. I think I may have mentioned it in my last looking at old art video. Oh yeah, the origin of Rad Shark. I think this is the first ever drawing of Rad Shark. But I was in high school, obviously, when you're 17. And not to get too into it because it's a bit of a tragic anime backstory moment, but I had given up on many things. But the one thing that I did consistently was draw in my sketchbook. So I was pumping out a lot of drawings, like super quickly. But as you can probably tell, a lot of these drawings weren't anything spectacular. Most of them weren't like anything super creative or revolutionary or anything. It was just like, I had a sketchbook and I would draw on it. And so like a lot of the poses are fairly simple. A lot of the faces are fairly simple. Just anything like that. Because it was mostly just escapism. That's how I used to complete my sketchbook so quickly, because I wasn't doing anything but drawing in them. This is a whole spread of Cass. I remember not drawing him as much as I wanted to, which is still true to this day, and I could easily solve that by drawing him, but I don't. But yeah, anyways, because of just where I was and the type of art that I was creating, I don't really have a whole lot to say about these drawings, other than they're here. This was around the time I had like just beaten I think this was Ultra Sun or Ultra Moon, because they're only in there, right? Maybe? I don't know if I can remember. But Red and Blue, I remember when it was first announced that they would be making an appearance again and they would be like older. Everyone was saying that they were married and they were on their honeymoon and that's why they were at Alola. More Pokemon sketches. This is the first ever drawing of Andy in a skirt. Oh, it became a trend in this sketchbook of just drawing Andy in a skirt. Oh, this one. I would love to redraw this one because I had high hopes for it. I wanted it to be a really cool sketch, and then I hated it. This one, I remember it was inspired by Paramore's After Laughter album. Oh my god, in a heartbeat. I remember that. I completely forgot about this until now. But yeah, that short film, I watched it and I loved it. Me trying to figure out Aurora's design, I think. Oh yeah, I remember in their original story there's this one part where like later on after Jeremy's like had his big character arc, he like cut his hair shorter. And so I made this little thing. He cut his hair because character development. I noticed that like that was a trend for a lot of my characters at the time. I'm not going to say which ones and if it is still going to happen because spoilers, but for a lot of my characters with longer hair, I would always like have them cut their hair at like a big dramatic moment or like after they've had their character arc or changed as a character in some way. Oh my god, this was also when I brought back Arietta. There's still parts of her character that's consistent, like the long pigtails and then the two-tone socks. Oh yeah, a bunch of I remember I wanted to draw a bunch of characters that like weren't like my main characters, I guess, because I had like that main group of characters that I would draw often, and then here's the rest. First of all, I remember really loving this spread, and this is exactly how I wanted my sketchbooks to look at the time. Second of all, this watercolor is ass. Look at it, it's so bad. Third of all, here's Voltron. This was when season 3 came out, I believe. Yoo-hoo, take me to Space Hospital. I forgot about that, oh my goodness. And then the obligatory Clans, because that's all the internet knew at the time, was just Clans. Oh my god, more Clans. Do you guys remember this point in time? Lotor, I really liked him. I still think he was a really effective villain. It's a shame what happened to him. I think I was just really obsessed with drawing Voltron because the 3rd season came out, so I think a lot of this is just— oh my god! Okay guys, okay. This is the Birth of Aspen. Wow. She actually hasn't changed much since then, I'm shocked. She doesn't have the pins on her jacket anymore, and then her shirt is just plain yellow, but silent. Scary AF. Might have killed someone once. Will actually fight you. Very true. I remember I just got this sudden burst of inspiration for a new story, so I scribbled her down and then wrote down some plot points. Parasites take over living things, turn them into zombie-like creatures. Aspen is a member of a secret government organization that fights them, drags parasites into a realm between the living and dead to fight. First one is true. Second one's kind of true. The organization isn't a secret anymore. Last one is not true. It just happens in the real world. And then I was working on Milo and Bishop. I knew I wanted 2 more characters to join Aspen. I wanted one dumbass and one, like, book-smart person, but also still kind of a dumbass. And thus Milo and Bishop was born. Saying this is weird, because it's like, it's not too far off from how he is now, but it's also, like, just off enough to where it's like, who is this? Like, if you know my characters and you looked at this, you could probably tell that it was Milo, aside from the fact that it's written right there. It's just so strange. And then Bishop, I had a really tough time designing him. And honestly, I think I would still like to tweak his outfit just a little bit. His color scheme used to be green, but now it's yellow, and I think I'd like to change a little bit more to make it a little better, I guess. Just some sketches of them, trying to get to know them. Another group picture. Love that. This is so fun to see. I forgot that this is the sketchbook where they started existing, so I was drawing them a lot at this point, just trying to get to know them. I would love to redraw this. You might freak everyone else out, but you're not scary to us. Yeah, it's not like you murdered someone. You have never actually murdered someone, right? Classified information. Has Aspen been killed before? You be the judge of that. That's just Sun and Moon characters. I really loved the character designs in that game. I still do. I still think they're great. I was just drawing a bunch of them. More of them. Ilima? Never forget how to pronounce his name, but I loved him because he looks really gay and gender non-conforming, which is all I ask for in a character, so he was my favorite captain. More Sting and Rogue. I drew them as Team Skull Grunts, I forgot about that. A bunch of Sting and Rogue, just a bunch of them. I remember I used to doodle Frosh a lot. They're my favorite X-Seed. And then more Sting and Rogue, but as Pokemon trainers, because that was really relevant to my interests at the time. Arguably Fairy Tail's gayest characters in Pokemon. What's not for me to like? It's exactly everything that I enjoy. Oh, here's the same thing. I think this was with somebody else. I don't remember who this was with, but I was doing it with somebody, but more like Pokemon fusion stuff. This one's, I kind of like this one. It's oddly cute and I like it. Bunch of drawings of the gang. This one, totally not looking at each other in a romantic way. Definitely not. Oh yeah, and then this outfit that I used to draw Andy in a lot. They don't have this outfit anymore, in case you were wondering, but I drew them in it constantly. I would love to redraw this one. I think I redrew it in a later sketchbook. I can't remember. But I really like this one still. Trying to figure them out. This was what I decided to give Bishop an undercut. Here they had a little bit of a hair swap. More Pokemon stuff. I remember this. I wanted to make, what are they called? Jinjinkas? The human versions of something. I wanted to make one of like each of the Generation 7 starters. I never ended up doing that, but I do remember when Generation 8 came out, I did that with the Gen 8 starters, and I made a speed paint of it, so that's fun. But I like this little Rowlet design. I think it's fun. More Pokemon characters, nothing new. Just same old. Ever since I started to actually keep sketchbooks, I think that it's just become tradition to do at least one spread of the fairy tale characters. So even in my newer sketchbooks, even though I'm not as into it as I used to be, you'll still see some of the characters pop up. I remember here, I was like, normally I'll have like a post-it note to like cover up mistakes, but what if I used like a post-it note for like the background? And so I drew Keith and I cut out the post-it note so then that way it was in the background, and I was like, that's kind of dumb though. So I never did it again. I drew these two constantly, in part because I knew how to draw them from memory, so I could just draw them, but also because the internet was obsessed with Voltron at the time. Plain as hell. We were all there in 2017. Don't give me that look. I know you were there too. My character, Delaney, people say that he looks like Lotar, and that wasn't really an intentional thing, but like, they both have purple skin and pointy ears, so I mean, they've both got that going on for them. I have a feeling Lotar would hate Delaney though. When I was younger, one thing I loved to do would be, did you just see this fuzz? Like, fly down. Get out of here. I remember one thing that I loved to do was to make outfits for like existing characters. I think that's something people still do on the internet. I don't really do it a whole lot anymore, but just drawing them in whatever outfit, I felt like that was one of my favorite things to do. At the end of my sketchbooks, I used to do something like this where I would have all of my characters. Like for this one, I believe I did like a spread of all of my characters, and then later on I'll have like character profiles of them. But of course, since this is the universe I was most invested in at the time, I drew Andy and the gang. Spirit of Luca not being a morning person. Yep, and then of course we got Rory. She used to play soccer, but now she doesn't. Sawyer, my feral boy. He's not as feral anymore, but he's just kind of an asshole now. I mean, it's fine. He can do that. Mabel, she was always one of my favorites to draw. Oh, this is, I did not redesign. I redrew it. We got this one. I redrew it here. Did my heads get bigger? I think they stayed about the same. I remember really liking this one. A big part of his character is Sawyer would do some bullshit and he would just be like, Sawyer, come on, dude. And that was just a big part of his character. It's not as big a part of his character anymore, but it's still there. And then Kennedy Quinn and Casper. The highlighter did not go well with it. Didn't like that pen. Oh, and the last page. I drew me and then all of the characters that I had up until up until that point. I did it. I can say words. Can you imagine how long something like this would take me now if I decided to draw me with all of my characters? I finished it September 3rd, 2017. This is the sketchbook, in case you were wondering. I used to love these sketchbooks. Now I don't much care for spiral bound sketchbooks. Hello. There we go, Mr. Spiral Bound. This is one of the reasons why. I guess we'll toss that aside. We'll move on to this little guy. I think this is an Artist Loft sketchbook. I don't much care for most Artist Loft products, but I remember I got this one because it was cheap. It came in a 2-pack, and I needed a sketchbook, and it was very cheap. I think with the Michael's coupons, I got this 2-pack of sketchbook for like $4, so let's get into this one. Started this September 4th. This my friend definitely gave me. I'm not into Star Wars. I can never really get into it. I tried. I can't. Sketchbook number 4. This is actually number 5, but let's ignore that. Yeah, I made a bit of a mistake. This one I think took me about a month because it was so small. And I remember I started drawing in it before, but it wasn't like me consistently trying to fill it. It was just random scribbles. And so on the first few pages, I taped in these pieces of cardstock so I could like start over, I guess. Because I only filled in like the first 3-ish pages. Remember, this is also like the day, I think this was the day I started school. My senior year. Yeah, it's just senior year, definitely. Archibald, Guzma, nothing much here. Since these pages were a lot smaller, there was a lot less room for me to fill in pages. I remember here I was trying to practice drawing Asian faces and making them look actually Asian. Because Sawyer was always meant to be Asian. I don't remember if at this point I had already decided that he would be Filipino, or if he was just like vaguely Asian, but I wanted to practice making him look his race, which didn't go super well at the time. I'd like to think I'm better at it now, but you can be the judge of that. I'm what the kids call fucking lit, fam. At this point, I was just drawing during classes, so I don't believe many of them are interesting. Some Keith. This is Gabby Hannah. I believe this was when she released her first song. I don't watch her videos anymore, but I did at the time. And then she released her song and I liked it. Oh my god, Bishop. This was when I was still trying to develop him. I have no personality yet. I hadn't decided on a personality for him. Honestly, I think his character could still use a little bit of work, but he's definitely a person now instead of just like a drawing of a person, if that makes sense. He actually has personality now. I'm depressed. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. Rad Shark eventually just became a character that I vented with a little bit, I guess. Drawings of Aspen. They were still very new at this point, so I was still getting to know them. At the outside I'm styling, but on the inside I'm dying. Milo, Milo, Milo. Me! I was kind of going through some shit, so I drew this to try and make myself feel a little bit better. Archibald, Archibald. I remember this was like my first real attempt at watercolors, and it is. Definitely exists. I want to know where college comes from. Satan's asshole. Everyone wanted me to go to college, but I didn't want to go to college. Spoiler alert, I didn't go to college. Drawings of Aurora and Jeremy. Kind of getting used to drawing them. More stuff here. More Archibald. Yeah, this sketchbook isn't super interesting to look at, which makes sense because I was in school most of the time. This is Miles Mckenna. What was the show? Guilty Party? I drew his character because I liked it. And from Pokemon, forever iconic. And this is when I started putting things over the marker bleed through IC. This is something I do now. I don't normally go for things this bright and vibrant, but I think that's pretty much all I had at the time. Cairo and Mabel. And then this is the first ever drawings of Hadia. I forget how much she's developed in this sketchbook. She is still very new at this point, so I don't think there's any like spectacular drawings of her. But also that said, I think this is for the most part what she used to look like before I did that whole redesign thing recently. I think this was the sketchbook where I like started doing these halfway spreads. I like to do like an introduction page and then an ending page, and this is the origin of the middle page. Oh god, I guess you can read this if you want. I won't read it because it's emo as shit, but again, I was going through some shit, so I drew the thing. And then I drew Lance, because this is how I coped. Writing angsty things and drawing Voltron characters. That's how I coped in 2017. This page is blank. Gray from Fairy Tail. Andy. This is a character. Her name is Lyra, but I actually redesigned her, and then she's actually a character in my webcomic now. She actually serves purpose. Oh my god, I forgot about Stevie. Forgot she's a character. This was my first attempt at redesigning her. She looks different from this now. More Alistair. Oh yeah, I remember one thing is like her hair. She could like shed it completely and then make it grow rapidly. This was like her default form, but if it was like really cold, she could... It was more like fur, I guess. She could like make it grow all over her body to keep herself warm, and then if it was hot, she could like shed it off completely. Maybe that's something I'll play around with a little bit if or when I redesign her. More drawings of Gray. He was always my favorite, and more Gray. But I can never draw him well. Another blank page. I think these ones were paper clips shut at one point. Oh no, plants! I'm so sorry. I'm a monster. This is the start of me ending my sketchbooks with these character profiles. I stopped because at this point I have way too many characters. Probably most of this isn't accurate anymore. I guess you can read it if you want. And then we got Luca. A lot of this is different now. Not only are they a lot older, so they're like more mature in some ways, but also the world that they live in is very different. And also some of the roles that they play as characters is different. So even though their general personalities have stayed the same, and I guess you could still tell that they're the same characters, because of their environment and the different roles that they play, a lot of this information has changed. Mabel. I remember she was a theater kid. She's not anymore just because they're not in school, but when they were at this point, she was a theater kid. Caro and Cass and Kennedy Quinn. And that brings us to the end. I finished this September 30th, so this was less than a month. That's the end of these. It's crazy. These are the last old sketchbooks I have. I guess it's time for me to look through these and pick some stuff to redraw. Wow. This was a journey. I don't really have much more to say about these. I guess I'll end the video. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Let me know your thoughts on my old art. Also, let me know if you've been following me when I was posting some of this stuff on Instagram. I believe I had my YouTube channel at this point, but I wasn't posting like very frequently, mostly because I was still in school. But I did post to Instagram as often as I could. Let me know if you've been following me, and if you haven't been following me since 2017 and you still aren't following me. Hi, I'm Oliver. I post new videos here every single Wednesday. I make a lot of art on this channel, as you can probably guess. And if you would like to see some of my newer art, I do sketch vlogs, I draw a lot of my own original characters, I make speed paints, I do whatever I really want, to be honest. But if you're curious to see what my art looks like now, check out some of my other videos and consider subscribing. I'd love to have you over here. And if you want to see more from me, you can follow me on social media. Those will be on screen now and linked in the description box below. There will also be some more videos of mine on screen and linked in the iCard for you to check out if you want. Maybe you could check out my newer sketchbooks. I just posted a sketchbook tour not too long ago. Go check that out. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye.